Hello and welcome to Straight Talk, Supply Chain Insights, the podcast for your supply chain leader who is on the go and wants to be in the know. And now, your host, Lora Cecere.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Supply Chain Insights. My name is Lora Cecere, and I'm the founder of Supply Chain Insights, and this podcast is designed for the supply chain leader who's on the go but wants to be in the know. In my travels, I interview supply chain and information technology professionals to understand where they're at, what their challenges are, and how they're approaching hairy problems. Today, I am honored to be able to interview CJ Das. CJ is the CIO of Simple Tire. CJ, welcome to the show. Can you tell the group a little bit about yourself?
Good morning, Laura. Good to be here. Once again, I'm CJ. I'm the CIO of Simple Tire. We are the largest tire supplier in the country. We sell tires retail as well as wholesale. And I have been the CIO for the last 3 years.
Well, and you're quite an innovator. I'm very impressed by our dialogue that we had at a recent analytics event. Can you tell the group a little bit about analytics and how you perceive the challenges for the CIO and working in analytics?
So our business is fully dependent on data. So just taking a step back so that I can explain better, we have a digital platform where the suppliers, manufacturers, and so on and so forth, they onboard the data. So we have about 10,000 plus partners or suppliers, as you call them, onboarding data onto our platform. And they onboard data every 15 minutes. So you can imagine the amount of data that is coming into our platform. And therefore, it was very important to design the platform properly, to select the right tool for the data, and do the right analytics so that every decision can be made based on the data. As the CIO, I think, whether in my company or any other company, I think CIO should take the responsibility to introduce data to the rest of the companies, those who do not have the data culture. And the challenges I faced were perhaps same as anybody else. That is, how do you change the culture of the company so that decisions are not based on hunch or judgment or past experience, but solely on data? So my approach has been fairly simple. What I tend to do, and I have done twice, Simple Tire, but being the second time, is that I take a business problem and I try to solve it myself using the skunk group or the R&D group. I do not announce it. I do not tell anybody. I just solve the problem, a small problem, but a high value-added problem, and then I present it. Once I present the solution, I think it gets traction because people demand more and more. And before you know, everybody is involved. They see the positive side. They ask for more data, more analytics, and that helps me get the budget, the right people, the data scientists, and the things fall in place. So, Laura, that has been my approach. I just start it, and once the demand increases, then I go back and add governance and other rules and best practices and so on, and thereby bring the whole company to a data-centric company.
Can you give an example or a story of where you've done that? Was it in descriptive analytics or was it in listening? Can you give an example?
Sure, I will. So, and this company is a good example, I think. It was called Direct Buy in Chicago. So I would attend different meetings, C-level meetings, and we would talk about making some decisions, and I would know there are some major pain points, and we are not really able to solve those problems, objectively. They were done subjectively. For example, one problem was from operations, and this company would call their members for renewal purpose. It was membership-based company. They would call the members to renew, and the script used was same for everybody. They had no idea, first of all, much about the customer itself, but secondly, what kind of pitch one should make, because every customer is different, but the company would put their some 20,000 members in the same bucket. and a large number of members would not renew their membership. So I thought that's a very odd way of doing business. So I went back and I had a skunk team, what I call R&D team, and I gave them the challenge that can you analyze the data of our customers based on the demographics, based on their past buying behavior, based on all sorts of data that we have for over 20 years. And what you did basically is to do some statistical algorithms. In this case, it was a decision tree, and there are 12 layers of the decision tree, meaning if A happens, then what? Okay, B and C can happen. If B and C happens, then what? And so on. So it was a decision tree drawn. And then we put these 20,000 customers into either 5 or 6 buckets, I forget. So we categorized them. Now, what these buckets mean? Bucket A mean, well, this customer will not renew at all. There's no point calling them. Don't even call these 1,000 people. They are gone. Other bucket, well, you have to give them a discount of $10, for example. Their tipping point is $10. The third bucket, the marketing campaign has to be different for each bucket, and what the marketing campaign should be when you talk to them. So we kind of tailored the approach for each group of customers, and then I went and presented that to the COO. It was a one-on-one session, deliberately, because I don't want to make it a big event, big announcement, or a political event. It was very one-on-one, presented with dispassionate way. This is what data has showed me. Why don't you try out this? Let's try out this way. And then he instructed the call center to have different scripts or different marketing campaign for each of these groups. So this is a good example where I introduced data to solve one problem. And before I knew, other departments came to know, marketing came to me, finance came to me. And before I knew, I had a data science team. And then I had to go back and buy the right tools, technologies, and things fell in place. And the adoption rate was fairly high.
Fun story. Now, at the little session that we had, I was asked the question, what should come first? Testing, new technologies, governance, data cleanliness? And I loved your answer. Can you share your answer that you gave at the group with the audience on this podcast?
Yeah, Laura, it's a difficult question to answer, so I can only talk from my experience. And my experience has been that data cleansing and all has to be done. Those are internal IT things or data science group thing. We have to do it because if we present the wrong data, then our credibility is gone. Credibility is everything. But the approach has been, let's not spend time thinking too much about the tool, about the governance, because if we overburden, if we talk about the rules and regulation up front, then the train might slow down. So my aim always to create some kind of enthusiasm, see the value added, and let's see how people accept it. How to get the people excited about it. And therefore, let's just solve some low-hanging fruits for which I may not need a big tool. I may be having a SQL server already. I may be an Amazon shop, so I have Redshift already. And I can use the raw data to do some data modeling, for which I do not need much of a tool at all. So let's just show the value to the business first. That's the approach I have taken. But in that approach, you are right, data cleansing has to be done. Without cleansing the data, if I present the solution, it could be wrong, and then it's all downhill from there. But how much do you burden the train with upfront with all the rules? That's the question. And my opinion is that lesser the better. But once they see the value, then I can come back and say, you know what, let's put some governance in place. Let's define the rules. Let's have a committee, steering committee, or whatever is required, and have a less of a data dictionary so that we all talk the same language. So this is the modus operandi I have followed, Laura.
I think that's a great answer. As we do work and the evolution of analytics is so exciting, how do you have the group learn about new forms of analytics so that you can take advantage of new technologies? And what technologies excite you?
I normally go for the nimble tools. I'm not a fan of big tools. SAP has, business objects, for example, and so on. And it may be my personal opinion. I have never been a fan of those big tools. The nimble tools, when I say, let's talk about ThoughtSpot. other day, I consider ThoughtSpot to be a very forward-looking, very innovative technology. Now, ThoughtSpot alone may not serve the purpose for some big companies. Well, there is Power BI. It has, by and large, everything that we need. And then, depending on the maturity of the audience, meaning if the company is matured, they want to do a lot of analysis. Yeah, then let's go for MicroStrategy, Tableau. There are bigger tools out there. But I see many companies, they say, okay, we want data analytics. Okay, what tool do you want? Let's go for Tableau because Tableau is the best out there in the market, has the biggest market share. That's the wrong approach, I think. Let's talk about the tool at the end. Let's talk about what we want to do. What is the portfolio of tools already we have? If you're a Microsoft shop, let's go for Power BI. So I'm not a fan, Laura, of big expensive tools like SAP and so on, or Oracle, matter of fact. I prefer nimble tools, new tools, be it ThoughtSpot, be it QuickSight from Amazon, and so on.
I'm with you. I think that, we're investing in legacy technologies and spending money needlessly. But I love the fact that you're such an innovative CIO. As you think about the adoption of new analytics and really unleashing the capabilities, because, as you explained, it can go viral if people can see the value in the business. How should people organize? Should it be led by IT, led by business, led in a joint group in analytics? How should they think about adopting your approach?
I believe that first for the adoption part, I think that is very important. You mentioned, and where I have had few failures, but wherever I have had successes, I have offered the solution initially in a very simple way. For example, the first example that I gave for Direct Buy, the output was given in a spreadsheet, and we continue to give the output, the final output in a spreadsheet, so that people do not have to learn a new technology at all. They have it right there. And as they become matured, of course, you can go for some nice visualization and so on and so forth, a nice tool. But as far as the implementation is concerned, I think IT should control it initially, at least. So when it comes to the data warehouse, the data lake, the data management, you talk about ETL tools, or you may have some machine learning going on, you may have some statistical data modeling going on, you have servers and the tool itself. These are very IT-centric things. So I think this should be managed and continue to be managed by IT or the data science team if you have one. But once the rules have been established, once the data dictionary and governance have been established, after that, I think the whole BI should become decentralized. BI by definition is a self-service kind of a thing. So then I think each department should have their own data analysts. Let's say finance will have their own data analyst, and they will do their own data modeling because there's day-to-day requirements. They will come up with their own graphs and other possibilities that they want to explore. And so it should become decentralized. Only the hardcore IT thing should be managed by IT. Then after, once the maturity has been gained, business can certainly come back to IT or the data science team for some new requirements. For example, there's a new data source, for example, need to be added to the data warehouse or whatever. For that, I think IT should be responsible. Otherwise, it should become, in due course of time, it should become totally decentralized and self-service.
Well, at the end of the session that we had on analytics and relational search, one of the people in the audience said that he thought one of the biggest opportunities of relational search was self-service by business leaders and really avoiding kind of the cycle of working with data scientists that can sort of be like dogs chasing their tails sometimes. How did you feel about that answer?
No, I do agree. I think when I say data analyst, each department having their own data analyst, the data analyst could be a data scientist, but they probably would have access to the read-only data only. I could be wrong, but I tend to think that we cannot give every access to the data because data has to be cleaned. So IT can offer the data in whatever format they need, do the ad hoc, do the regular stuff for finance, for example. But then after, if the finance team wants to have a data scientist to cater to their day-to-day requirements, I think that's a good idea. Nothing wrong with that, because they understand certain things which a data scientist which has a financial background or financial knowledge will be able to deal better than a typical IT data scientist who may have just a simple statistical background. So each department can hire their own data scientist with certain background that they see useful to them. They have, as I said, finance background, but he's a data guy. So he's fine. But that person cannot have every level of access. At some point, data management has to be done by the IT. Otherwise, data might become dirty.
Well, I love your insight and your energy. I wish all CIOs were this forward thinking. Let's close the show. What did I not ask you that you want to tell people as they think about the new world of analytics and working with businesses to drive value?
I think first of all is the responsibility of the CIO to introduce data and analytics to the companies where they do not have that culture. The CIO should take the lead. But in doing so, the CIO has to be very careful because data can bring out a lot of dirt and filth as well. But to me, there is a beauty. I consider data to be the source of truth, and it is the source of truth. Data doesn't lie. But how do you present that source of truth? I think that has to be done very carefully. As I alluded earlier, I think the CIO has to present it in a very non-political way and without pointing fingers, without blaming anybody. Hey, this is what the data is saying. We might have been doing something wrong in the past because we did not have data, but going forward, let us start a new culture, a new path. When people see that you do not have any political angle, you are not trying to demoralize, belittle anybody, I think it is taken in a positive way. And then it takes its own course. And the whole culture, whole way the business is done changes. And that could be a make and break for many companies. So I would say the CIOs not only should take the lead for data analytics, but also have the soft skills to present it and be the change agent. He's the right person to bring the changes to a company.
Great answer. Well, CJ, thank you so much for being on the show today. And I want to encourage listeners to sign up for the Supply Chain Insights Global Summit that will be held in September in Chicago, where we will be talking about new forms of analytics, how supply chains are changing, and how to get your organization ready. It will be at the UI Labs, and it's unlike any other event you've ever been to. It's designed for networking and really allowing a group of 100 to 150 business leaders and technology leaders to imagine the supply chain of 2030. CJ, thanks again, and good luck with all your work. I hope to see you again on the road.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for your time.
Bye now. Until next time.